Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and in today's video we're going to install the blue rail bridge into Brick Nottingham. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. I'm going to introduce Major Quentin Steele, who is a monster fighter. He's got a revolver and an old nautical map. And he's looking for the swamp monster in order to mete out his self-administered justice. I don't know what the monster has done to deserve this, but nonetheless, he's hot on his trail. Maybe he can smell the rotting fish. And the second thing was the Series 13 Egyptian warrior figure that I got in a recent brick haul. I realised I still hadn't added to our sightseeing bus. There isn't any room on the top deck, so he can join the Kiwi on the lower deck. So there's one more seat at the back, and maybe we could squeeze another person in at the front of the lower deck, but it's really filling up. So there's the tourist bus with all of you on, watching today's progress. It may seem very simple installing a bridge like this. It's got 3 sets of legs, so just put them onto base plates, connect up the rail at each end, and you're sorted. But unfortunately, it's a lot more complicated than that. What I've got to do is make sure it fits perfectly with my very irregular rock edge at this end, as well as connecting up the rail. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to take apart this bridge very slightly on the ends, just because in order to make it very strong, I've sort of built it onto the track, and therefore I'm going to have to unbuild it from the track in order to connect the two ends together. So that's not ideal. But more importantly, I need to do the other end of the cliff face, because once this is in position, it's just going to be impossible to build up to. So what I've done is I've removed the temporary bridge structure for the second bridge that will be going behind this one, and all the temporary big burp pieces, big ugly rock pieces that were being used just to hold up the last base plate on this bank. So I'm going to have to replace those in a sort of more permanent way, and I'm going to do a detailed rock face for this side as well, and then the same problem with linking the rail bridge to this end of the bridge, and I'm going to have to dismantle it a little bit. It might be that I take the entire superstructure off, install it, and then put it back on. It's not what I want to do, but I think it's probably what I'm going to have to do. Now, the bit of cliffs that I am going to do, I'm going to limit pretty much to the depth of this bridge, and while I'm at it, probably the depth of the next bridge, so I can build both of those two into it and integrate them. But I'm not going to build a great deal in front of, like I have on this side or this area, or behind, like I have right over here, because I'm not entirely certain what's going to be going sort of right over here on this table, or how it's going to blend with my beach, which will sort of start about here and go to our left, opposite the marina. So I don't want to sort of typecast myself too much by doing a really complicated cliff. So as I say, I'm probably going to keep it to about a base plate long, which is, 32 studs. Right, so the first thing I think is to pick this up, move it out of the way, and get working on the supportive structure here, because there is no table here, that will support the continuation of the base plates in a very robust way, just like we have on this side. And then we can do the more detailed rock face after that. One thing I did in between videos was just use some time to put in the corner ballast for each of these 2 rail corners. I had all the pieces for that, being mainly tiles and very small plates. It's the ballast for the straights that I'm a bit short of, and we'll have to order more of. But that is just showing us where these 2 rail lines are going to start, which will correlate with the other side. And so this is the support structure that I've made, and it's largely large bricks that are very cheap that I've got with recent hauls, that are attached to crossroad base plates, just because they'll be completely hidden underneath the higher base plates, but it does create a very firm base. And I've used Technic bricks 1x8s in black, which I got an absolute load of, and then these wonderful 3 high 2x8 arch pieces, which are going to be able to support the base plates very well. So there's basically one at the centre and one at each side, and then I've got a 8x32, or rather 2 8x16 green base plates supporting the train line that's going to link up with our blue bridge, fully ballasted, and that's resting on the shared one there and sort of overlapping with this one. So whatever's next can use this support, and whatever's next on this side can use the other half of the far support as well. So that's supporting the table, supporting this bit, and that's supporting the next bit, and then the cliffs themselves will support the very end of this. So now I need to put in blue base plates here to link up the ones that are already there with the bottom of these crossroad plates, and then we can start building our intricate rock face. The first section, I've used my last large burnt piece in the old dark grey. I've still got some in dark bluish grey, but I figured I'd use this because I have on the other side, and it looks a very good sort of washed out grey browny colour, very dingy, so I like that. I've also used down here a newish piece, for me at least, which is one of these sloped wedge pieces with a sort of crazy rock pattern already built into it. So I've got another one of those to use somewhere else, but yeah, I quite like that. And then as for the other side, I've used sort of splashes for water, small cheese wedge pieces in light grey, olive green, sand green, the odd sand green brick as well, dark tan plate there, sand green plate, and a bit of dark green seaweed as well. So I just took that off so I could work on it. So the rail piece is going to come right over there and actually connect over the lip like that, there and there. Fantastic, seamless. Right, I'm going to keep going, as I said before, and go up here. I'm not going to go any further this way, but I might put something temporary in there just to hide this mess for photographs and so on. Now for the next section, I wanted to incorporate a very interesting piece that I got a while back, and it's this, a raised base plate that's sort of set up to look a bit like a beach or a sand island. It's from a pirate set in 2009 called Loot Island, and that's set 6241. And it was unique to that set. It's a very interesting piece actually. It's got sort of 6 spaces around the outside, which have got this sort of recessed hole, which can take one of the pieces with a pin in it and a 2x2, or you could just put in a Technic half pin and sort of put a tile on the top if you want it flat. I need most of these to have studs on so I can build on top of it, because it's a very irregular shape, so it's quite hard to get things to connect to it. And the top's the same in that it's sort of hollow, and I've just used more of those pieces to hold 2 4x8 plates in to sort of make it a more solid shape. And it's an odd piece, as I say, but I think that if I can sort of incorporate it into the cliff face, so the sort of rocks will come down like that onto it, then it'll be a really different feature in my city that a lot of people don't have. And I don't think it's inappropriate, because you often get sandbars sort of building up with tidal flow, you know, near the opening of bays or at the end of rivers or something like that. And it's usually sort of on one side more than on both, because maybe the prevailing ocean currents are going from left to right as we look at it. So I'm hoping very much that I can incorporate this piece seamlessly into my rock face, and maybe even have somebody doing something fun on it, because I've left deliberately a 2x2 bit there that won't be covered by bricks to have a minifigure sat there, and at the very least it'll just be casting a rod into the Strait of the Bay. Right, I'm going to try and build up to that. And I think to do that, I'm going to have to take these base plates off again temporarily, just so I can see what on earth I'm doing. Much better. So this is proving quite a complicated piece to build up to. I mean, the different levels are one factor. This first level is actually 1 brick, 2 plates high. And then this level is 3 bricks high. So it's quite a sort of odd combination of different plates and slopes that are required to sort of get from one layer to the next. And these slopes are very irregular. So I've had to use these pieces, which is a inverted slope, but the corner one, in order to make a good sort of reach over some of that irregular slope. Anyway, it's looking good. I've managed to get an arch in, because often you get sort of sea arches being formed where there's sort of interesting weather. And I'm going to use another small burp piece this time, but inverted, to make a cave, which I know a lot of you are very impressed with the idea of doing. So I'll continue that. So there's another cave there. Don't worry about this little bit. It'll be very dark, so you'll be able to see in. And you can probably see that I've added a small bone. That's held in place by a 1x1 modified tile with clip, just so it doesn't fall down the back into the cave and disappear forever. And then I've got some more seaweed pieces, so lime and another dark green one, so they're alternating. A lot of this is going to be hidden by the bridges, because one's going to be here and one's going to be about here. So, you know, we shouldn't get too bogged down in how brilliant this looks, because it's going to be quite hard to see. But I do think I'm going to keep the sand piece, the sort of Loot Island piece, because I'm already liking how it looks, just sort of sticking out on the edge. I did fill in that gap after all, it was annoying me. And I've built all of this all the way along to here, and then it stops being done. And as I say, that's so I can decide what I'm going to do next on this side. So that means I can put these base plates back. And the first one there can connect, hopefully. There we go, with there. And I can even add a few more pieces just to sort of connect one bit to the other, a slope piece and a curved slope piece. I might add a few more details along that edge. And I can add this one back as well. And have that connecting onto there and there. Good, so that is nice and firm, as you can see. Doesn't move at all. And is a good cliff surface. And we've got the bone in there. Seaweed, 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 and a nice place for Robin to sit. So lastly, if I move Robin, it's going to pull up the base bit anyway, I can put the bridge supports for the second bridge that we haven't started yet on. You can see they're perfectly aligned with the last bit of ballast. So the bridge track will be on that continuous surface. And now all that remains is for us to link this bit with the bit opposite, and then we've got a complete blue rail bridge. Looking forward to that. Yeah, I've tried a rough fit to put this in position, even if it wasn't perfect, and it's just too tight. There's too many things sort of in the way that won't be in the way when it's in the right place, but it's going to need taking apart and then putting back together. So I'm actually going to take off the entire superstructure, i.e. these rails up, and then I'm going to separate the actual track layer from the feet, and then I can put them in reverse order. So put in the feet, then put in the track, and then re-add the superstructure. I just think, sadly, it's the only way. While I'm here, I will mention I actually lowered these two central braces They were sticking up a bit, much like these ones are on the end, but I kind of like them a bit more flush with the surface of the top of the rail bridge. Now I did think, well, I'll make all 4 of them flush, including the 2 end ones, but unfortunately if I lower these ones even by 1 stud, then the passenger train will hit them. So I'll have to leave those as they are. It just goes to show what tight margins we're working to. But I really do like a train going at high speed, really nearly hitting a lot of things. It's just quite exciting, to be honest. So long may that continue. And there we are. Sorry I didn't stop to show you some midway progress shots, but it really was quite complicated and I had everything sort of spread out in a decent order, so I was able to piece it all back together. And it wasn't that bad. I had this end was sort of sticking when I was trying to put it down. I couldn't work out why, and I just had one too many pieces sort of embellishing the very edge. It was one of these 2 long cheese wedge pieces that was basically needed to be only 1 plate thickness, and obviously it's 2 plate thickness on one side, so it wasn't actually connecting very well. But anyway, I've sorted that out and it's all very firmly in place, and I think it looks rather fantastic. At the very beginning, I was minorly concerned that basically a blue bridge over blue water might look a bit, well, blue. But I think because of the shape and all the shadows that it casts, I think it looks absolutely fine. Right, so the moment of truth. Let's get this train on. Lights on first. Oh, that's a tight fit, isn't it? The pantograph really nearly hits those end supports, but it does go across. Let's do it a bit more speed now. Just hope I haven't left anything else on the track somewhere else. Ooh, that is looking good. Oops. All mended. That was odd. I think the train basically started coming off before it even got to the bridge on this corner, because it's a bit wobbly because these base plates aren't all connected to each other. So I think that was the cause. Looking back at the footage, the train was already coming off the rails before it got to the bridge. But it was a very good test of the strength of it, to be honest, because even when the train hit the bridge, we only lost 2 of the rails off the front. So that was actually quite a successful, if unplanned, test. Now it only remains for me to add a couple of these 1x1 round plates. And I like to use these medium blue ones because it's sort of quite a good compromise between clear ones and light blue. So I'll just put a couple around each of the stanchions. And then I think we're done. So what I've been dying to do is to have train cam going around with the bridge in place. So I'll do that. What I might also do is put the temporary bridge in for the other rail line over here, so at least we can have the cargo train running at the same time. I think you'll agree that's been another success. I just really love looking at this bridge from all different angles. I really love the stanchions and this lower arch. It's just a really sort of pleasing shape, if you ask me. I also love the fact that it came from that 1969 brochure, or at least the inspiration did, and we've taken it definitely up to the next level with bricks on the side techniques, modern tiles and all the rest of it. I also think it's really good, especially on the train cam, to see the different colour of sleepers from the reddish brown usually used to the dark bluish grey, because then it just provides that contrast that brings it out even more. And lastly, I really like the holes in between the track pieces, because obviously we don't have ballast on the bridge, so we actually just see the water below. So yeah, I think that's really good fun as well. I think it'll only look better when it's got its sibling alongside. And let's not forget this rock face. Even though a lot of it is concealed at the moment, you can see it lower down. And the inclusion of that sand island or sandbar type piece, I think really adds to the diversity of the city. And there's nothing better than watching this bad boy charge over the bridge at high speed. Fantastic. Really happy. So as always, thank you very much for watching. Do remember to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe for more awesome LEGO videos. I think we're going to do a haul on Wednesday, but the next city update on Friday will be doing some more work on our train system, including making a continuous turn switch. Don't know what that is? Tune into the next video to find out. See you then!